Coming up, a look at one of Disney's value hotels, Disney's All-Star Resort. Disney presents
Beyond the Kingdoms. Today's episode of Beyond the Kingdoms is proudly sponsored by SmallWorldVacations.com, authorized Disney vacation planners. Their team of knowledgeable agents have been creating the magic for over 20 years. And they can book your next trip to Walt Disney World. Just visit their website to get a free quote. Small World Vacations, where the magic begins.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Sunday main show of Beyond the Kingdoms. Like always, I'm your host David, and today I'm kicking off yet another new series, The Best Rooms at the Disney Resorts. In each episode, I'll take you through one specific hotel. We'll do an overview together of everything the resort has to offer, and then I'll highlight what I think are the best rooms to get. But most of all, we're going to be doing these resorts individually so that we can pinpoint what groups are best suited for that specific hotel. Now, there are a lot of hotels to cover, so this will naturally be a series that will continue indefinitely. And I've decided to start with something easy, Disney's All-Star Resort. Now, I'm bending the rules a little on this first installment and looking at all three of them together. You may think that all three of them are exactly the same, but there are subtle differences between them, and it's best to compare all three side by side before you decide on which resort to commit to. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in to today's episode.
Disney's All-Star Resort is comprised of three different hotels: All-Star Sports, Music, and Movies. Technically, this resort was Disney World's first value hotel, if you exclude the campgrounds at Fort Wilderness. The resort opened in phases. All-Star Sports was the first to welcome guests on April 29, 1994, followed by Music on November 22nd of the same year. And finally, All-Star Movies actually opened 5 years later on January 15, 1999. Each of these three resorts contains about 1,920 rooms. But All-Star Music has a little less with 1,604, given that the family suites are a little bit bigger and take up more space. But altogether, the three hotels combined offer 5,444 rooms. Each resort also features one main quick service restaurant, or food court. There are additional ways to get food while staying at the All-Stars, but most of your dining will be at these food courts, because there's no table service restaurants here. When traveling to the parks from the hotel, buses will be your main form of transportation. This is absolutely free, like it would be at any Disney World hotel. But for those of you in a hurry, you also always have the option to hail a minivan. In terms of location, All-Stars is actually very close to Disney's Animal Kingdom and Blizzard Beach. So, if you plan on rope dropping the park to visit Pandora first thing, All-Stars will give you a slight edge over the other resorts. Finally, each hotel features two pools. At the very center of each is the resort's main pool, which is usually accompanied by an adjacent kiddie pool. And for those of you who are looking to escape the bigger crowds, each of the three will also provide a secondary and more quieter pool to relax at.
A main feature of today's episode will be highlighting a standard room. And like I said, we're going to be pinpointing what type of group is best suited for this resort. Whether you're a couple looking for a romantic getaway or a family of 5 visiting the parks, some resorts might work better than others, because not all Disney hotels are created the same. But before we get into those nitty-gritty details, I want to first give you a more detailed tour of the All-Stars and a general look at the layout. This is going to be important later when you're stuck deciding between a standard room and a preferred room. Let's take a look.
The exterior style of these resorts are pretty basic. There are simple, rectangular-shaped buildings with huge, oversized characters right in the middle of them. Each building is about 3 stories high, and each have an elevator for you to get to the higher floors. Unlike the deluxe hotels, these buildings have exterior hallways, meaning if you're close to a pool, things might get a little bit loud. But still, these are basic, very colorful, and fun buildings. I particularly love the Toy Story section at All-Star Movies. Now, the layout of each of the All-Star resorts is almost exactly the same. Music is the only one here that's a little bit different. Each includes a main building at the very front of the resort. This is where a Magical Express will drop you off and where the main reception desk is located. And this is also where you'll find all of your dining and shopping. From there are 10 different buildings at each resort, and every resort has 5 different themes, meaning there are 2 buildings assigned to each theme. Let's first look at the layout for sports and movies, because they're almost identical. The 5 themes at All-Star Sports relate to different sports, of course, and there are the Surf's Up building, Hoops Hotel, Center Court, Touchdown, and Home Run Hotel. The main pool is directly behind the lobby building, in between the 2 surf buildings. The second and quieter pool is a little bit further down the path and in between the 2 baseball buildings. The preferred rooms at sports are in the Surfs building and the Touchdown buildings. And here's a quick tip. Even though it's a preferred room building, I would avoid staying in the Touchdown section. Many of you have probably heard that the All-Stars get filled with school groups. This is true, but the only time I've really seen it impact my experience is in this particular area, because there's a wide open lawn in between the 2 buildings. Cheerleaders and dance troops have a tendency to practice here if there's a competition going on. It gets really loud, so if you're hoping to sleep in on the day of a competition, you might be out of luck. No other building has a lawn quite like this one, so this one is best to avoid. Let's next go through the layout of the remaining 2 resorts. Movies is almost exactly the same as sports, just flipped around. You'll notice that the secondary pool is located on the north side of the resort as opposed to the south side. The themes here tie into different Disney films. There's the Toy Story section, Fantasia, The Love Bug, 101 Dalmatians, and The Mighty Ducks. An interesting feature to note here is that there are more preferred rooms to choose from at All-Star Movies. They are all located in the Toy Story section, Fantasia, and 101 Dalmatians. Now, All-Star Music is slightly different. Instead of sprawling out to the sides behind the main lobby building, music is almost one long stretch that goes directly backwards, meaning you may have a slightly longer walk than you would at sports and movies, if you get stuck towards the back of the hotel. Here, the themes are related to different styles of music. There's the Calypso building, the Jazz Inn, the Broadway Hotel, Country Fair, and Rock Inn. Just like sports, if you opt for a preferred room at music, you'll be in either the Calypso building or the Jazz Inn. And another thing to note here is that the secondary pool is centered towards the back of the resort and an equal distance to 4 different themed buildings.
Next, let's dive into the rooms. Booking a standard room at an All-Star is very straightforward across the board. It's the one that's most offered at all 3. Now, these are best suited for a family of 4. And you will have the choice to upgrade to a preferred room, but that only implies the actual location of the room. The layout and structure of both are exactly the same.
Each standard room at the All-Stars is 260 square feet. It's one of the smallest rooms you'll find at Disney World. They usually come with 2 double beds, and in between them you'll find a simple nightstand. In my room at the All-Star Sports, there was a central TV unit that was equipped with 3 different drawers. That's all the storage that was available, because you won't be able to tuck things under the bed. The bedroom and bathroom area is divided with a simple curtain. This is helpful if someone wakes up in the middle of the night and doesn't want to disturb anybody else. There is one main sink, and adjacent is an open closet area. You'll find an iron, ironing board, hairdryer, and a very small safe. As you can see, you'll only be able to store a few smaller items in here. Your typical laptop won't fit. Then there's the bathroom, with 1 toilet and a tub shower combo. Back over to the main living area, I also want to point out that there's a small mini fridge. It's a decent size and will hold several drinks and food items. However, there is no microwave in these rooms, but there is one that you can use in each of the food courts. The room is simple and straightforward. The decor is basic, and you'll usually find a trim of Disney characters featured at each resort. And of course, a simple piece of art on the wall. This is the type of room that you simply come back to at the end of a long day at the parks to just crash and get some sleep before waking up and doing it all over again. Now, unlike other resorts, the standard rooms don't come with any sort of options when it comes to the view. But like I said before, you can bump yourself up to a preferred room, which gives you a better location to the main building. The room itself is exactly the same. To explore all the options and have someone help you along the way, I recommend using Small World Vacations, Beyond the Kingdom's preferred travel agent. Just click the link in the description below or visit their website. Just tell them Beyond the Kingdom sent you.
Now, I think these standard rooms are best suited for a family of 4 with no more than 2 adults. If you're a group of 2 adults with 2 kids, you'll be reasonably comfortable in these rooms. Again, we have to remember that these come with 2 double beds. If you're a group of 4 adults and you want to be comfortable, I would suggest starting to look into the moderate hotels, because those tend to come with 2 queen-size beds. If you're a couple, you can request a king-size bed at the All-Stars, but it's not always guaranteed, because those rooms are usually reserved for guests who need the accessibility features. But these standard rooms are also good for a family of 4 who want to keep things affordable. If keeping the budget down is a major priority for you and your family, an All-Star is an obvious choice. But I do recommend this over staying off-property if you specifically need and want to use add-on features like the Disney Dining Plan and Disney's Magical Express. And remember that when you stay on Disney property, you can book your FastPass Plus reservations 60 days before your trip.
A few years ago, I would have told you that it might be better to stay off property when visiting Disney World, if you want to save some money. The same could still be true, especially if you have rewards accounts with third-party hotel chains. But something I have started to notice is that almost all of the Orlando hotels are starting to charge a resort fee and a parking fee on top of the normal rate. So, the final number is starting to become even or on par with the resorts on Disney property. Which reminds me, here's another quick tip. All guests will now be charged a parking fee when staying at a Disney hotel. The values are priced at $13 a night, and you won't see it listed when you initially book your room. It will simply be added to your room account, so make sure you factor that in when you're planning your budget. The moderates are priced at $19 a night, and the deluxes at $24. The most important thing to do when comparing off-property hotels to the value hotels is to think of the bigger picture. It's always worth doing some math and calculating how much the entire trip, including things like the dining plan, will cost you versus staying off property. Don't get too focused on the room rate alone. Look at everything. And for more tips when booking a room at Disney, check out this video.
Now, while a family of 4 looking to stay on a budget is the most ideal group for the All-Stars, there are 2 other room categories that I want to highlight, because they might accommodate very specific travel groups who still want to stick to a strict budget while on their Disney vacation.
I must first mention that the rooms at the All-Stars are currently being massively refurbished. In fact, by the end of this year, All-Star Movies should be complete with this remodel. And the rooms look spectacular. A major upgrade from what they used to be, and on par with Pop Century's refurbished rooms. These are the same exact size, but there's brand new furniture, laminate floors that look like wood paneling, a new flat screen TV, and more. But the bed arrangement is different now, in that there's one queen bed and one Queen Murphy bed that pulls down. Meaning that when both beds are out, it's a tighter fit in the room, but a more comfortable sleeping arrangement. When you fold up that Murphy bed, it doubles as a small dining area that fits about 2 people. Disney should be working on this refurbishment across all 3 All-Star resorts, but that will take some considerable time. For now, if you're looking to stay in one of these refurbished rooms, look into booking a preferred room at Movies. And we'll get a much better look at these refurbished rooms when I do an episode focusing on Pop Century in the future. The other room category I want to briefly point out is over at All-Star Music. This resort offers standard rooms just like the other 2, but also a family suite. Now, I use the term suite loosely here because in reality, this is really 2 standard rooms combined into one. However, there are little perks here that may come in handy. In terms of beds, one room comes with a queen-size bed for the adults, and the second room, which really feels like a living room, features a pull-out sofa bed, a pull-out chair, and a pull-out ottoman. Technically, this will sleep 6 people. But again, probably best if you're a pair of adults only traveling with kids. And probably a little bit older than a toddler and still younger than a teenager. It's gonna feel like a giant slumber party in there. There are 2 bathrooms, however, which is very useful. And in the main room where the queen bed is a tiny, tiny kitchenette. No major appliances, but you'll still have a fridge and a microwave. This is a room to keep in your back pocket, especially if you're looking at things like the cabins at Fort Wilderness, which also sleeps 6, and the Art of Animation family suites. By comparison, the one at All-Star Music is the smallest and cheapest of the 3. It's worth noting that the cabins only have 1 bathroom, but the trade-off is that you get a full-size kitchen. Art of Animation suites are obviously newer than All-Star Music and slightly bigger. But there's a more comfortable dining area to enjoy. And of course, Art of Animation will soon have the Skyliner connecting guests to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. But that's definitely a resort for another day.
Now, dining at a value resort is very straightforward. All 3 of the All-Star hotels has a food court that counts as a quick service restaurant, and it's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over at All-Star Movies, we have the world premiere food court. Music's is the best of the 3 in my opinion, because it's been more recently refurbished and has a slightly better menu. And then finally, at All-Star Sports, we have the End Zone food court. Now, each of these quick service restaurants have several stations within them. For example, at lunch and dinner, you'll find the grill station, which will serve up hamburgers and hot dogs. A second might be a pizza station, serving up pizza, of course, and some pasta dishes. But to think that all 3 food courts are exactly the same would be a mistake, because there are subtle differences between them.
Like I said, All-Star Music has a slightly better menu than the other 2, but only by a little bit. The Intermission food court seems to experiment with their menu more than the others. In the past, I've had a great chicken biscuit breakfast sandwich that I loved. Sadly, that has been removed from the menu, but now All-Star Music is the only one of the 3 to feature a build-your-own bowl station. I had a fantastic pulled pork bowl with rice and beans and all the toppings. It was delicious. Better than a simple cheeseburger in my opinion. Intermissions also features a decent alcohol menu, which is especially handy if you're on the dining plan. Like I've said in previous videos, the inclusion of alcohol to the plan has really made it an add-on worth considering. I found that I got more bang for my buck with meal credits at Intermissions Cafe over the other 2. All-Star Movies does feature some of those unique alcoholic milkshakes, just like Music, but I didn't see any at Sports. For those of you who don't drink, the milkshakes and smoothies can be found at all 3. So in the end, check the menus. They're all quite similar, but All-Star Music has a slight edge in my opinion.
Now, for my adults who need to unwind a little bit from the hectic nature of a Disney vacation, you'll be happy to know that all of the All-Stars have their own bar. Each one is located just outside of the food court and just a few steps away from the resort's main pool.
Each of the pool bars are usually open from 12 noon to about 1 a.m. So this is a good place to unwind while enjoying the pool or after a long day in the park. There's a typical selection of beer and wine, just like you would find at any Disney bar. But there's also an impressive amount of cocktails on the menu, both frozen and on the rocks. It's a sizable bar that seats several guests, so there's usually not too long of a wait. There is no food served at the bar, but again, since it's just outside the food court, you're only a few steps away from grabbing a bite to eat.
While deluxe resorts may offer room service or some sort of 24-hour food offering, the All-Stars sadly do not. If you need to get some food in the wee hours of the night, you may only have the option of the All-Stars in-room dining. And that's because the food courts tend to close at midnight. The All-Stars in-room dining menu is limited. There's an array of pizzas, as well as other entrees, such as pastas, subs, and sandwiches. And of course, there's beverages, both alcoholic and non. I'll leave a link in the description below for more details, but I must point out 2 key things here. It's only available from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., and you will be charged a $3 delivery fee, and on top of that, an 18% gratuity. And be warned, if you're on the Disney dining plans, any delivery to your room counts as 2 adult table service meal credits. Definitely not a good use of the plan. Okay, that's enough about dining. Let's wrap up today's episode with a look at recreation.
The value hotels don't have a gym, but the All-Stars have a very long jogging track that connects all three resorts. I am definitely not one to exercise while on vacation, but for those dedicated viewers who are, this is a 1 mile long track. Some of the hotels offer additional fitness activities as well. For example, during my recent stay, All-Star Movies was offering a sunrise yoga session for free. That might come in handy if you need to get centered before attacking the big theme park crowds. These activities change all the time, so don't bank on it, but double check for details when you check in. For you younger guests, or simply young at heart, each All-Star hotel features an arcade as well. These can be found inside each of the resort's main lobby building, just across the food court. It's a sizable arcade filled with a big variety of games, from classic skee ball and air hockey to more high-tech racing games. But of course, with any resort in Florida, you're probably wondering about the pool. The pools at the All-Stars are pretty basic. Each resort has one main pool directly behind the lobby building, and a smaller, quieter pool tucked away in another corner of the resort. There are no slides or crazy water features or splash pads. It's just one giant pool. These are sadly not zero entry pools, but each main pool offers a kiddie pool just nearby, the one at Movies being the better of the three, just because of the theming. All the pools have lifeguards on duty and towels that you can use at no additional cost. Like all Disney pools, there are vests available for little ones still learning to swim. They come in different sizes and again at no cost. When staying at the All-Stars, I tend to always enjoy the quieter pool a little bit more. It's no different from the main pool except the location. I just find the slower vibe a little bit more relaxing. Each pool also has a locker and laundry room nearby. Guests can do laundry and it'll cost about $3 to wash and $3 to dry. The locker rooms can come in handy if you're enjoying the pool on your last day. I sometimes do this myself and leave the pool for the day that I check out. And since I've got to get everything out of the room, I use the lockers in here to store my essentials. During the day, cast members will come out and play games with the little ones. And of course, remember that Movies Under the Stars always takes place just by the pool area. Just look for a board in the lobby area for show times and the titles being shown.
So let's do a brief recap.
Like I said, these standard rooms at the All-Stars are best for a family of 4, comprised of 2 adults and 2 kids. Of course, you can tweak that a little bit if you get a refurbished room or the family suite, but by and large, that's who will fit best at these hotels. The All-Stars are the cheapest of all the resorts at Disney, and a good option if sticking to a tight budget is the priority. And remember, staying on property will give you the chance to do some add-ons like the dining plans, Magical Express, and that 60-day Fast Pass window. Movies is the one to go for if you're hoping to score a refurbished room. If you're watching this and considering a trip in a year's time, other hotels might be refurbished too, but Movies will be your safest bet. Music, in my opinion, has slightly better food options, but only just. I oddly also think that Music has a slightly better vibe as well. There's something about the Calypso pool and the Jazz building that I find a little bit more charming. It almost reminds me of Port Orleans. But again, if price is the most important factor, just go for the cheapest one. If you don't want to pay extra for a preferred room but still want to score a good location, I recommend requesting the Mighty Ducks building at All-Star Movies. Just because you'll be close to a quiet pool and actually only a few steps away from Music's lobby. You'll actually be closer to that lobby as opposed to the one in All-Star Movies. So you can enjoy their better menu and almost have a preferred location. That's also pretty close to the transportation.
And remember, if it's any building to avoid, it's the touchdown building at All-Star Sports. In fact, Sports of the 3 can get the busiest. And that's because there's a small convention hall at the very back of the parking lot in between Sports and Music. And it's very common to have some special events take place here. So there you have it, friends, a complete look at all 3 hotels at Disney's All-Star Resort. If you're in the planning phase of your next Disney vacation and considering a stay at the All-Stars, I hope today's video helped you make some key decisions. And I want to take this moment to personally thank Small World Vacations for sponsoring this week's video. Not only are they a great supporter of Beyond the Kingdoms, but they now actually personally help me plan my trips since I go so often. I highly recommend them and think you'll be really happy with their services when choosing them as your next travel agent on your Disney World vacation. But sadly, folks, that's all the time I have for today. Stay tuned next Sunday as I return to the Exploring Hollywood Studios series with a full look at Echo Lake. Thank you so much for tuning in this week here at Beyond the Kingdoms, and I hope all of you have a great Memorial Day weekend. And like always, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.